Tonight's stories.
Bluffing.
Repair.
Heirloom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Comfort Level Podcast. I'm Madi, and I'm here with
Brandon.
Sam.
Ely'ssia.
Oh my gosh.
You're making my cheekbones hurt.
We're back.
Welcome.
Back.
We're back.
Last time I was here, I predicted Tennessee would win the.
So
Baseball
College World
game.
Series, so June or July.
That was so long.
And then that probably came out in September.
Yeah,
What was the verdict?
They won, right?
they won.
They
They
did.
won?
Okay.
I was right.
You put money on it?
No, I should have.
Were they underdogs?
I don't remember.
Oh, they were.
They were. Is that what you
Skylar's
said?
saying, yeah.
Yeah, we have an audience. We have a studio audience today.
Studio audience. Shout out.
Shout out to Ely'ssia's fiance.
Shout out. He's throwing up gang signs, I think.
West Side, apparently.
That I can't do. So it's fine.
Did you guys ever do the wow?
That's not what matters.
I do. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Where your mouth's the O.
Yeah.
I just saw this week. I've never seen that ever in my
When your
life.
mouth's the O.
Your mouth's the O and you're going, Mom. No,
That's how far they cross.
that's not good.
They're hugging.
You need to go to a doctor.
even crossing, they're just
You need to-
over.
They're just next to each other. They're just doing hand
Push them
things.
closer together.
Like,
There we go. Oh, they're the wrong fingers. That's why she's doing it. She was doing the wrong ones.
those two don't cross. That is very awkward.
Just put them in. And they'll go, wow.
Wow.
No, she said woo.
Ooh.
No, she said,
Ooh.
ow.
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 Because that does hurt.
Did y'all do this as kids? I want to know if the audience did. Wow.
I did this.
Wow.
I learned how to do
Yeah.
this,
What's this?
the Spock thing, but
It's like
Could you like?
I couldn't open my hands for the longest, so I had to learn how to do
Oh,
it.
Could you tennis it?
I have to think about it.
So you have to
15
separate them
love.
first,
Yeah.
and then move the middle. Try not to move your...
I feel like Elyssia's hands were paralyzed because she can't do anything with her hands, I feel.
Well, I've had people's feet in my hands for like 17 years of my life. So
Wait,
that's probably
You
why.
could have just said cheerleading. You made that so weird.
Because
You made
if
that
I didn't
so
know you were a
weird.
cheerleader and you say I had people's feet in my hands, I still wouldn't have connected dots.
I didn't know she was. I was like, wait, what is happening? She has
Like, what does that
feet in her
mean?
hands? What does that mean? You need to elaborate
You made
on
that
that.
so. It did not need to be that weird. She said, "I had people's feet in my."
Oh, well, their lives, I guess. But they're
Their lives?
This is how I know
because if
she's
they
a
would fall,
clone.
they
Oh
could
my
be
God.
paralyzed.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty big deal.
It
That's
sounds
probably
like a
why
big
my
deal.
hands are so messed up.
Not the pinky trembling. I saw that pinky tremble. To the king.
That literally played in the car while I was going to pick you up.
It's a good song.
It's so good. I wonder if she knew when
She
they
put
were
her
making
foot
it.
in that song.
Yeah, when she was making it, she's like,
And
"This
Ely'ssia
is
was
gonna
holding
hit."
that foot when she
Tamala man's He's like, get off me.
I can't see that non-vision now.
And I just imagine her like just trying to like kick you off like somebody was saying like I don't have much to bring.
My heart is torn.
No, it's the truth is I'm tired, and that's where you just start living.
Truth is I'm tired. And then she said okay.
Oh my God.
Oh, all right, we can do this.
Because I was in modern dance class in college.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an elective. And we had to do like, oh, we had to do, whoop. And I was scrawny in college. So I was like, yeah. And I'm like, this is a part of my grade. Like, I'm getting graded on this. Good thing I had a very tiny girl. I was like, oh, I'm still struggling. I'm like, yeet. And I remember I was like, because it was a part of my grade when we had to do the final dance, I was like, am I going to like fail because I'm weak and I can't lift her? I got an A, so.
The nerves kicked in.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But you still have a smile on your face?
You got to smile. You always get a smile.
You just throw her by accident.
Like, thank God.
The adrenaline, like, oh.
She's in the ceiling. A+ for this guy.
Yeah.
He lifts.
But pretty much I just bluffed my way through that class. Like this
first story. All these stories are from r/comfortlevelpod.
Oh.
So if you ever want to submit your stories and have the community talk about it or potentially have us read it, submit your stories to r/comfortlevelpod.
Yeah.
This first one is an update to a story that you and I did an episode, and somebody updated it. So shout out to OP for updating.
Oh, like somebody. I'm like, hopefully OP updated.
I'm like, wait, this is no. It
Just
is,
a
it
random
is
guy.
OP.
He's like, I'm going to update this. I have no idea who he is. I'm going to update his story, though.
But I just believe the title.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Okay, it's an update.
But because Ely'ssia and Brandon were here, I'm going to read you guys a story. And then for you guys online, I'm just going to replay the story so you guys can hear it. I thought I was bluffing when I told her I wanted a divorce. So first off, I want to say I love the content and I've listened to almost every episode. I also want to give a shout out to Sam and the Ottoman Empire.
Oh.
So I have been divorced for almost a year now, and I thought I would share my story. To keep this somewhat short, I will be leaving out a lot of details, but I'm willing to answer any questions that anyone has. So 2 years ago, I was involved in a severe car accident where I had a garbage truck pull out in front of me, and I did not have any time to respond, and I hit it going 55 miles per hour. I'm still going through recovery, and I have been through multiple procedures to try and help get the pain under control so that I can return back to work. I also had my appendix rupture, and I had an emergency surgery in May of 2023. Looking back, I can see now that she was being extremely distant from me, but at the time, I didn't notice because I was more focused on my recovery and physical therapy to try and get back to work. After I had my appendectomy done, she became very distant and very secretive with her phone. A few months later, she finally told me that she was feeling overwhelmed and stressed out about the situation I was dealing with, and said she wanted to go stay at a friend's house to talk with her about her feelings and clear her head. Well, 2 days later, it was her birthday, and I found out that she had made plans to go to dinner with some guy from work. She didn't end up going because he did not respond to her text messages. We had an argument at the time, and I was willing to move on from it because we had been together for 14 years, married for 12. Just a few weeks later, I found out she was looking for an apartment, and I told her if she moved out, the marriage is over, and I would ask for a divorce. The next day, she came home and told me she had just went and looked at an apartment, and she signed the papers that day and was waiting on the approval of the background check and employment verification. The next day, I found out she had been texting another guy for about 4 months, and also found out that she told him she wanted him and wanted to know when and where to meet up. When I confronted her about it, she said she was joking and nothing happened. Maybe that's where the for fun comes from.
Okay, that's fun.
She ended up moving out in August 2023, and 2 weeks later, I showed up to her apartment with divorce papers. She was very shocked and very emotional and told me that she didn't think I was being serious when I told her that I would ask for a divorce. I ended up filing for a dissolution, and since we don't have any children, it was a lot cheaper, and the process could be done a lot quicker. The divorce was finalized December of 2023. The past year since has been a struggle with trying to earn money to pay bills and trying to stay positive with my recovery. There was a lot of detail I left out to try and keep this as short as possible, so I'm willing to answer any questions that anyone has about what I went through and about how I'm doing. He said, my now ex-wife thought I was bluffing when I told her I wanted a divorce. Do you guys have any thoughts on that before I go to the update?
It's a wild story.
What did she expect?
Yeah.
But, like, then she still went to buy the apartment. She's like, if you buy this apartment, I'm going to divorce you. Mm-hmm. I got an apartment. Like, are you stupid?
Okay, I'm getting a divorce. Wait, what?
Like, why are you surprised you said it?
Yeah.
Plus, y'all, they're married. So what would be the point of An apartment.
Yeah.
For your sneaky link, Brandon.
I know,
Obviously.
I know, but like,
But you're telling your husband,
Yeah,
you're
you're
like, hey,
That I'm getting this apartment.
for my sneaky
How do
link.
you justify? How do you justify it?
It's not sneaky, man.
It's not. It's just a link.
Yeah, that's just a link.
You're just living on your own, actually.
Okay, so update. Again, love the content. I just heard the episode with my story. It's definitely a surreal feeling hearing my story be read out loud by someone else and made me realize I wish I worded it differently and I wish I would have given all the details. The only reason I used just for fun badge was because there wasn't one that fit well while I was sharing my story. I wasn't asking if I was the asshole because I know I'm not. I wasn't asking for relationship advice because I knew what I did needed to be done. So to answer some of the questions that you guys asked, yes, she was talking to multiple guys during that time that this was happening. She only went for one night and then her birthday dinner. She originally told me she was going with a girl from work, and as you know, she didn't go, and the next day she asked me to put on a new screen protector, and because I had an uneasy feeling, I looked at her text and saw that she lied about who she was going out to dinner with. Now the other guy she was seeing for 4 months, I did the same thing. I was very confused about why she was moving out and told myself it had to be because she met someone else, and I went through her phone again, and that's when I found out about this guy. Now, I'm not someone who has ever went through her stuff because I did have trust in her. I also wasn't completely devastated because my mind was set on divorcing her when she decided to move out already. But it did make me look back, and the signs were so obvious I can't believe I didn't see them. Like when I had my emergency surgery, I asked her to stay overnight with me, and if she could take a few days off work to help me get home and around the house, since I would be in a lot of pain, and she refused to do both, and that was the same time when she started talking to the other guy. When I told her I wanted a divorce, she accused me of giving up on us, and I needed to suck it up and get over everything that had happened. I also texted the guy after all of this and told him I knew and pretty much said he could have her. Now, from what I heard from her, after that, he stopped talking to her and started giving another girl attention. Now, what happened after that? After she moved, well, about a month later, she was in a hit and run that resulted in her car getting totaled. While she was waiting to get another car, she asked me if she could borrow my car or if I could take her back and forth to work. I told her no, I needed my car and I wasn't getting up early in the morning to take her to work. She told me that it's not her problem, and I responded she wasn't my problem anymore and she needed to leave. She also would brag to me a few times about dates that she would go on, and I definitely think she was trying to make me jealous. But honestly, at this point, I didn't know what she was doing. When it was getting close to the court date, I told her I would pick her up only because I didn't want anything to go wrong and have the divorce be delayed. The day of the court date, I did pick her up, and the divorce was finalized with no problems.
Then you dropped her off.
I left her to take the bus.
Yeah,
No, I'm just
find a ride back.
Yeah, Uber here.
Nice knowing you.
Now, for a little bit of karma, I found out that through a mutual friend that she had moved this guy in that she started dating a few weeks after she moved out, but she recently just had to kick him out because she found out he was cheating on her and seemed to just be using her for her car. Now, for me, I've been hanging in there, but still having medical procedures to be approved by the insurance. I am also in a new relationship, and it has been going amazing so far. I have been upfront with everything with her from the very beginning, so there's no surprises. I'm very open with her, and I can say without a doubt that my failed marriage and my new relationship are completely separate from each other, but I am open with her on any questions she has about it. I also wanted to thank the Comfort Level community. Everyone is awesome and the support is amazing. And then final edit, I felt like I should give a little bit of insight on what it was like before the accident. I was the one that was working more and was paying a majority of the bills. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, she went through a really bad depression where she found out her parents were doing drugs and her mom had to be rushed to the hospital because she had a stroke and possibly a heart attack too. During that time, she pretty much shut down on me, but I stood by her and gave her the support she needed to try and pull through. After the accident was the first time she was the primary person paying the bills and was the person who needed to support the other person who was going through something traumatic. Now, just because I was recovering from the accident doesn't mean that she was going to work and she was going to do all of the household chores at home. I would do as much cleaning as I could, and I was able to do pretty much all the cooking. And since we don't have any kids, there wasn't that added responsibility and stress from childcare. And then top comment, wow, this is a lot of karma for her, and I love it. So that's an update.
Like karma hit her with a rock.
Yeah. Well, it was a hit and run, or what was it?
It was hit and run.
Or a car.
I'm glad the karma was met. I'm glad she got her comeuppance.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying a lot of that stuff, OP.
Yeah.
I am happy though that you're recovering well and that, you know, you stood up for yourself when she was trying to basically still take advantage of you. I'm sorry that though you were there for your partner, but your partner couldn't do the same thing that you could have done that you were doing for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that you had such a crappy partner.
What are they saying? Like the
Through
marriage
thick and
vows?
thin?
Through thick and thin. It's
I don't think
better
that's
or
actually
worse.
married vow.
better or
but-
worse. Yeah. Better or worse. That's
Sickness and health.
Sickness and health. Yeah. And yeah. What I didn't understand though is when she was trying to get the ride, that threw me for a loop.
So basically, the last guy used you for your car.
But he said, I'm not getting up early to take you to work. And she said, that's not my problem. And it kind of is your problem to worry about.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to do it.
Hey, they were still married at that time. The
Were they?
divorce hadn't gone through yet.
Oh.
Because he gave her a ride to the divorce after that.
Yeah.
So she's like, you're still my husband, so can you help me get a ride? He's like, we're actively getting a divorce. I don't want to do anything for you.
That audacity is crazy.
That was wild.
How she just didn't have any self-awareness of
Nothing.
her not even trying to contribute equally to the situation and then asking for so much, always asking, never giving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this brings up something because she's clearly in the wrong in the story. But I was watching a story on the Shits and Gigs podcast where they wrote a letter basically saying something similar where her husband had gotten in a bad accident, like a really bad accident where he couldn't like feed himself, he couldn't clean himself. It was like really bad. And had been a year and he was still recovering. And she was basically like, am I the asshole for like wanting to have sex with someone else? She had like a little crush on a guy at the gym, and she was like, how do I bring this up to my husband of like, I don't want to leave him. I still like, this is the love of my life. I want to stay with him, but I need to have sex.
But I got some
And-
business to take care of.
Exactly. And like, is it wrong for me to want to do that? And I feel like it's similar. At least this person was better. Like, I want to bring it up to my husband and like, how do I broach the subject? But for you guys, would you be like, nah, you said for better, for worse, you just suck it up? Or would you be like, oh, that's something you could actually bring up to your partner?
Is his pecker dead?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well.
Oh.
it doesn't work.
Like, it's never going to
So
work.
he's
She didn't
Full
go into
body
far if it's never going to work, but
paralyzed?
it's been a year and it hasn't worked and they haven't done it. And she's like, I'm doing things for myself, but it's not the same as like being with a person.
I feel like that's a matter of communication, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't okay with that. And so at that point, it's like, yeah, that's like one of those things of marriage where do you choose to, after the communication is had and he says no,
Yeah.
do you choose to end the marriage because like a physical connection is important, obviously, like that's what she's saying too. But then she has, everything else in him. And I don't know. I just feel like that's definitely something to bring up with like counseling. I can understand how that might be like a hard situation because, yeah, I don't know. Is there not ways that he can be involved in that? Or is he still recovering? I know not necessarily like the original way that it was.
Because I see a seat.
I'm just trying to think of different ways to make that work for her.
Okay, well, let's go back to the original thing that you brought up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because, yeah, communication's definitely important thing. Like, you should be able to talk about it at least. Like, we've been together, because I think they were together for a long time, and like, we should be able to communicate about this and hopefully come to some kind of solution. I think what one of them said was, put yourself in that same situation. Like, what if you were the one who was paralyzed or having all these issues? Right. What would you say to the situation? And I think James was like, he would have been like, I would allow you to do it, but I wouldn't want to know information about it. I wouldn't want to know that you were thinking of you already had a guy in mind. That would hurt my ego. Like, oh, so you kind of been preparing.
So you've been scouting.
Yeah. I wasn't in at the beginning of this conversation. Like, you've been thinking about it. You got a person in mind.
You have it all set up.
You have it all set up, and I'm just waiting for it to go. I'm like, yeah, that might be hurtful. I don't know what I would do in that situation, because I would be like, I get it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But is that selfish of me to be like, no?
Your feelings are involved. So
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys were married. Well, I don't know that exact situation, but you guys were together for a period of time. You guys were married. Everything else is perfect. I mean, it's just like, it's not like he wanted to get into this accident to the point where he's like recovering. It takes a year, you know? So it probably is.
He also hasn't had sex in a year.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
and his doesn't even work.
Thing. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, I think that's where it comes into counseling and communication and figuring out like what your partner's comfortable with. And if they're not comfortable with that, then what are your next steps after that? You know, because I think maybe there would be some people who would be like, yeah, I'd go do it. But then there also might be people that are like, no, I'm not comfortable with that at all. And both are okay. It just depends on, you know, who
Hopefully
your partner is with.
You're compatible on that.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who are like, sex is just a physical thing, and it doesn't matter to me if you're having it with other people. Like, there's clearly like polyamorous people and open marriage people where they're like, sex is just a thing that makes me feel good, but I don't feel like it's love or anything. And those people want to be like, yeah, it's fine. But other people are like, no, love is a connection. I only want to share it with
intimacy.
Yeah, I only want to share it with you, and I don't want you sharing it with other people. And both are, I think, fine.
Yeah.
You just hopefully align.
I also remember you saying, though, you had said at one point, there was a video that you were watching where you were saying that most polyamorous couples that start out as monogamous do not work out. Because originally when you started the relationship, the foundation was it's just us. And now you want to add people in. And that's not something that was okay with. Like a polyamorous relationship is going to be a lot more successful if you establish from the beginning, hey, I'm looking to talk to multiple people. I'm trying to be in a relationship with multiple people. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, like using it as a solution for your relationship is not a good idea.
Yeah. All right, so little mini story reaction.
Yeah, thanks for writing back, OP. Appreciate that.
I'll just tell my mom not to watch this one.
I'll tell my mom the same. I might
keep scrolling. You know what? No, not that one.
The episode actually starts 19 minutes in.
Yeah, if you're a mom, watch past this timestamp, please.
Like, oh, you can stop there because I know what I say after that.
How do I repair my relationship with my boyfriend and his family after what I suggested to his sister?
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
How do I, 25 female, repair my relationship with my boyfriend, 25 male, and his family after what I suggested to his sister, 19 female? So I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend, who we'll call G, for about 2 years. He has 3 younger siblings, M, 23 male, A, 21 male, and T, 19 female. All of them are still in college and still live at home with their mom, 55 female, and dad, 55 male. While my boyfriend and I rent an apartment. This summer, they will be celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary in France, where they had their wedding. They plan on getting first-class tickets, a high-end hotel, etc. One night, G and I were supposed to have dinner with his family while we were at their house, and T mentioned how excited she was for this summer and all the things they plan to do in France. As this is an anniversary trip for her parents, I suggested to T that she could do her parents a solid and maybe stay back home and out of their hair to give her parents some time away from their kids this summer. Or she could maybe pay her own way so her parents could save money. T asked why she should give up a trip to France, and I told her it would be a nice gesture for her parents' anniversary. I kept trying to tell her how nice it would be and how her parents would probably thank her for giving them space, and at some point M interrupted us and told me to stop meddling into family affairs and that I was overstepping. and to either apologize for pressuring T or to leave the house. I told them I didn't mean to make anybody upset, but when their dad came into the room and asked them what was wrong, they told him everything. He then asked me to leave the house and said I probably shouldn't come back anytime soon because I was overstepping, and he found it rude that I was making a problem and pressuring T to solve it. Me and G went back to our apartment and we haven't been speaking. Where do I go from here? And then there's an edit and an update.
And they're dating?
Yep, they're dating.
They're only dating.
And he said that too.
And
yeah.
Well, if I remember that the comments go in on OP on this.
They do.
Yeah.
I can get maybe questioning it of like, why are you going on your parents' anniversary trip? I think initially you could argue that she was overstepping from the beginning. And that's maybe different people's opinion. But I think also the moment that I think the brother said something, but definitely the dad, like, I don't know why she kept pushing further. The moment that T was confused about it, I think she should have just left it.
Yeah.
And been like, oh, okay, well.
Because what if T is going to France but doing something completely opposite of what the parents are doing?
Yeah.
Like, what if she's just going, because, like, I've never been to France, so, like,
Yeah.
can I tag along? But I don't want to bother you either.
Yeah.
And I think another thing to point out too is it sounds like her boyfriend's family has money. So I don't think I would ask this question in the beginning because I'm not assuming that they can't pay for it. If they originally got married in France, they're all taking first class trips. Like,
Right.
it doesn't sound like they need to be asked
Save
that compared to if they were in
some
a
money.
different like tax bracket, you know? So I think I'll take that back because I think knowing that the boyfriend's family sounds rich, I wouldn't worry about it, you know?
Yeah, because I think I was with you in the beginning. I think her asking the first time, especially since it seemed like, yes, they're rich and maybe OP's not. And so, like, in my family, you'd be like, hey, it'd be nice if your parents just had their own anniversary.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I would say it, but I think it's fine to say the first time, like, hey, maybe it'd be nice if they were just on their own doing it. But as soon as there's any pushback, I think it's the doubling down, like, are you sure you really don't want it like that? I'm like, oh, Pete, chill out. Just, you made a suggestion. It didn't go over well. Stop. But it was like, it was the doubling down and continuing that. They're like, it seems like since they've been dating for 2 years, the way the family reacted, like, I feel like this has happened before where they're like,
Okay,
the dad's not
now
saying,
you're
get
over-
out of my house
Yeah.
unless this happened sometime before. Like, your girlfriend is annoying. She keeps doing this. I'm done.
But also maybe she just made the sister so unbearably uncomfortable and the dad could see it to the point where he was like, I'm gonna need you to leave and not come back for a while.
Yeah.
You need to leave. I feel like I'm on one of those, it was an overstep from the initial push because although it is an anniversary trip, people run their anniversary trips completely different. Like, there was one anniversary trip I went on with my parents. I actually was to Vegas. That was their anniversary trip, but they just took us with them.
I'm so sorry.
An initial overstep in my perspective because people can run their anniversary trips completely different. When I went to Vegas the first time, that was an anniversary trip for my parents, but we just happened to be there. But my parents saw it as like it is our anniversary, but we have a family to celebrate it with now.
Right.
So for you to be like, oh, you're really going on this anniversary trip? I wouldn't even ask that in the first place because who knows? Maybe they could be like, it's an anniversary of our marriage, but we're celebrating how far we've come. Look at all the family we got now. So yeah, I wouldn't have even started from the first place.
Yeah.
But then again, too, also, family trips are family trips. What you do with that trip has nothing to do with me. I wouldn't have asked that either. Like, just...
Yeah, I'm not telling you how to spend your money.
Right.
yeah, I'm not telling you how to spend your money. I'm not telling you how you want to celebrate. Just because you would think that your parents would want to go doesn't mean that that's the case for everybody.
And plus, you're only dating.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you still don't even have that room to
Yeah.
be
True.
saying that. And only 2 years is... That's crazy.
Because I'm thinking if I was a parent, if I wasn't rich, I was like actually broke, but I had made the decision where I saved my money and I was able to take my kids along with me, I would still be mad. Even if I'm like,
Like you'd be like insulted.
yeah, I'm like, it would be easier, but I'm like, who are you to say that we need to save money? Like, I got this. What are you talking about?
I busted my butt
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
trip, okay?
It doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor. Like, if I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Who are you to be?
Yeah, so maybe it's just an overstep
Yeah.
overall, no matter
Yeah,
what,
now
no matter
I'm
what the
getting more.
financial position is, because at the end of the day, if that's what they said that they could do, like you were saying,
Yeah.
it's insulting to be like, are you sure?
Are you
Like,
sure?
make it easier for your parents. And they're like, excuse me? Like, we planned for this trip. We know I said I'm paying
debt.
for her to go.
I'm
Yeah.
in debt right now. It would
Yeah,
be easier if
'cause-
she wasn't there.
Okay, going to
She spends a lot.
She spends so much.
going to France.
I
Yeah,
hate
that's
my
a,
daughter.
that's a thing. But doing first class to
First
France,
class, yeah.
that's a choice.
That is a choice.
That's a big choice.
You're not doing, first class to Europe. You're not doing first. That's not just something.
If you
on a
have
whim.
money, that's still a
Yeah.
choice. If you don't have money, you're literally making that choice to do that.
Yeah.
So
That's
either way, it's
luxury.
like you kind of
We an economy if I'm going anywhere outside the United States.
you have to think about that
We're being
first.
bougie on this trip.
I'm in luggage.
Info, the others are invited, but they're older, so I assume they can just go do their own thing. Info, I'm not obsessed with their financial situation. I just think it's important that T starts making her money on her own so that she can value it more. She's used to getting her hair, nails, and sometimes makeup done and paid for, not to mention how much products she buys for her hair and sanitary products. It'll hit her hard how much this stuff costs when she's older, so why not start learning that now? And this thing is crazy because it's very rare, but this has 0 upvotes and 1,500 comments.
Yeah.
The way that they were pissed at this story.
Yeah,
Why is
Yeah.
that your business?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
The update makes it worse.
it's
Yeah.
not helping your case.
Like the
Oh,
update
that's the
did
edit.
make
That's
it
the
worse.
edit. That's the
Yeah,
edit.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, the edit made it worse.
Oh wait, you haven't read that.
No, the update.
Okay.
There's still an update.
But top comment, not sure why you're pressed on the topic so much. You assume the parents want the alone time, but seems like they don't. You try too hard to make your point valid. And then somebody else said, parents of young kids crave quality time alone. Parents of adult kids crave quality time with all of their family present because it doesn't happen so as
Oh
often.
yeah, I saw that one.
So your
Yeah.
assumption was wrong. Secondly, if they have booked and planned this for their anniversary, this is obviously what they want. Thirdly, if they can afford first class tickets with their family, money's not an issue. I'm not sure how you can repair this because not only have you offended his family, but you didn't even seem to recognize that you fucked up.
Wait, can I say something
Yes.
about the edit?
Yeah.
Okay, it is seeming like a tad bit of jealousy.
Because
But-
is she not going on the trip?
No. Just the way she's describing how the daughter is living her life. Like,
Oh.
her nails are always paid for. She's got all these products for her hair, all this stuff. Like, granted,
gonna hit her
yes,
hard when
it's
she has
gonna
to
hit
pay
her
for-
hard,
yeah.
but it's like, who said it's gonna hit her? Who said any of that?
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, like sometimes you can see a spoiled person and be like, oh, they don't even know. But they're set. That's the thing that people don't know is like they got like a something's backing their lifestyle.
They have a trust fund.
Yeah, they have a trust fund, something like that. Not saying that they do, but a lot of times, like hearing stuff like that, or even like my sister, I would say the way in which she lives, she's got the PS5, she's got her own ensuite pretty much. Some people could be like, she's living the life, and it is. But she knows how to work. Like eventually when she's getting to work, like it just took her a little bit of time, but she's getting there. But she's taken care of by her family.
But
So
even if she wasn't
yeah,
stranger, even she's not a stranger, but I don't have the right to be like, you shouldn't be like that, or you
Yeah.
are spoiled or not spoiled. That's not my responsibility.
yeah,
So I feel, if you feel some type of way, it's usually not because of them. It's like something in your life that now you're kind of placing on this person. I feel like when anyone talks about that stuff, like, I feel like, why don't you have to go through the same thing
Yeah.
that I went through?
jealousy.
Because I think it really just sounds like different like backgrounds. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like
Yes.
OP might not have grown up with everything, and so she understands. She has a different understanding of what life is, and so when she sees, oof, he is tooting away over
Oh
here.
no!
Oh.
Yeah, keep that thing chambered.
I'm gonna push it back here
Lock
in the
that
corner.
thing away.
But yeah, I think it's just a matter of people
Yeah.
growing up differently, like who have more access to money or maybe like more access to like cash that they can just spend on like wants instead of needs. And I think that's where the big difference is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're more used to, like, in TV shows and movies and media, of like the bad behavior of like rich people looking down on poor people, like, oh, you're like that. But there is a difference also. You can't demonize some rich people. There are some rich people. You can't demonize rich people like just for like sharing the fruits of their labor with their families and like working the benefits, because that's what you want to do.
Right.
If you had money, you would also want to share the fruits of your labor with your family. So don't like demonize them because they're doing something that people naturally want to do with their families.
Mm-hmm.
If I had the money, I do want to share it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Last night, me and G had a long and serious talk about my comments at the dinner, along with some of my past comments. He told me while in my family, refusing a free trip when you are invited may be seen as noble. In his family, refusing a free trip is seen as stupid. In my family, if someone offers to pay for you, you should always decline no matter what. My parents made me work all throughout high school and always told me that I'd have to get a scholarship to help pay for college because they weren't going to do it. It is also a courtesy in my family to not expect help with finances no matter how tough it may get, to only eat one serving at dinner gatherings, to always pay your own way, and we often voice our own opinions no matter what they are. He then went into discussing the trip to France. His mother has extended family who live there, so this will not be the first or last time they all go. It will be the first time they explore the area where they are, so even if T wasn't old enough to go off on her own or didn't know her way around or the language, she'd be fine. And if his mom and dad wanted some alone time, she'd just be fine on her own. And if they didn't, they have family there. When me and G first started dating, we were also talking about our family history. He told me about how his maternal great-grandparents moved to America from France. I was under the impression that everyone from his mother's extended family moved, not just the great-great-grandparents and their children. Apparently, his mother thought my behavior was because I didn't feel welcome by them, and the dinner was to invite me on the trip to France as a sort of peace offering. However, after his father caught me trying to sway T, he had enough and decided he couldn't take it anymore. No matter what his wife says, he will not tolerate me being around the rest of the family or in their home any longer. This came as a shock to the family, as his dad doesn't speak much and is usually calm and composed.
Dang.
It's usually the father.
Dang.
Dang, he don't say nothing. He finally
say
snapped.
nothing,
That's
man.
crazy
He
to
said
push a
something
dad
to
to
you.
snap.
Oh no, that's not good.
Old school dads? Oh.
That's like your dad, like, get out. That'd be crazy.
I'd be scared if Brandon's dad told me to get out.
Oh my, if he did that, that'd be wild.
My boyfriend also showed me his photos from his parents' wedding. It looked like one of the most fairy tale weddings I'd ever seen. It was held in Chateau Chalane, and he explained how they plan on renting the space again and flying all of their extended family out to celebrate with them because they want to celebrate with everybody and will take time for themselves later on in the summer. I also teared up listening to how his parents met. After graduating high school, his mother spent the summer in France with her family while his dad was also visiting along with his older brother. His dad had struggled with cancer nearly his entire life up to that point, and it was supposed to be his dad's last trip before he let himself go because he was too tired of it all. One morning, while eating alone at a cafe, he recognized her as the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen, who spent her time helping out her family with their restaurant, running it like it was the Navy, someone who wasn't afraid to call customers out when they were being unreasonable or just downright rude, and someone who knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. The complete opposite of him. They spent the day together, which inspired his father to continue his cancer treatments, accomplish his goals, and start taking life more seriously so he could be by her side for as long as she could be with him. His parents also told him and his siblings the only things in life they value more than each other are their children, and they want to make sure if life gets hard for them, they have something to fall back on. He told me he'd be moving back in with his parents until he finds a new apartment. He also revoked my invitation to their family Christmas trip to Aspen, which we were supposed to be leaving for tonight. I feel like I'm in a Darman video right now. What the fuck? On another note, friends saw my initial post and gave me an intervention. I will be attending therapy for the foreseeable future. May update when I unpack what's wrong with me. And then there's a little bit more edits for info. People seem to be confused. When I say his father recognized his mother in France, I mean that literally, as they are from the same hometown. Some people also think I'm saying love cured his father's cancer. I was told that it was what made him continue treatment. That is all I was told. I've also gotten comments about the years of the Chateau Chalane becoming a wedding venue and the wedding not making sense. Unless I'm misremembering something, I remember him saying they were married there. Maybe I'm mixing up locations when he was talking about the wedding venue and the wedding anniversary venue. And then top comment, your parents have shaped you to see the world as a dog-eat-dog world. And then another one, worse, the whole thing where you were always supposed to decline a nice thing when it is offered to you is some manipulative, sabotaging bullshit. And then somebody else said, unfortunately, there are families like this. She just had a big lesson on how her normal family isn't so normal.
Oh my God, there's so much to
They were
unpack here.
inviting you and you blew
That's
it.
that
So
dinner.
much to unpack.
They have like the first class ticket. They're like, we're gonna like pull it out.
Invite
Like,
her because
we're gonna, like,
they've only
whoop.
been together for 2
There it
years.
is.
Just
All she
practicing
has
how
to
they
do
Yeah,
give
they're
it to
like,
her.
we're gonna give it to her like this. There's your first class ticket.
Don't say
And
Here we go.
psych.
He just throws it.
He rips it. He's like, "Ah!"
I'm done.
And then to think that you would be invited to the Christmas.
The fact that she already knew about the Christmas trip to, Aspen.
Aspen. That's where rich people live, man.
Going
You
to that.
fumbled hard.
I do take back my initial thing of like, I think in general, you probably never should have said anything. You've had way too many clues. OP, I'm sorry. I feel like there was way too many clues to show this family was very, very rich and they
Yeah.
didn't have trouble, spending that wealth on their kids.
Yeah.
And also, you guys were saying that they were together for 2 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been around his family for 2 years, I feel like you also might have been able to see like how important family is to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though him telling this beautiful story about how his parents met and like we're breaking up. Like he says like, oh, the love. I'm moving back in with my parents. Like, dang, why you telling me all this at the
Because
end?
what we have is
It ain't
not what
that.
they got.
It ain't that.
I thought it was, but it definitely
It
ain't.
definitely was not. Okay. Number one. Well, okay, this kind of made me laugh a little bit, but I think her going into detail, her update was mainly the story of how the parents met.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything else, not much else about like, oh, maybe I was wrong or thank you guys for telling me.
Right.
None of that. You got to go back and at least say that. Like, thanks for telling me. Now I know, now I'm aware. But it was like, I don't know, deflecting with this big story, it feels like.
I feel like
Except
she
the one
did come to
sentence
a...
where my friends saw this and staged an intervention. There's a lot of messages like her friends were like,
Yeah.
you're a bad person.
You're a bad person.
I'm going to therapy now.
You're not a bad person, but
Yeah.
your worldview, like that top commenter said, has been shaped by something different,
Right.
and you have a different lens on the world, and that's now you're realizing that that's not how it is, and you
Yeah.
need to go to therapy to work on that.
Yeah. But I was going to say after that. So first, I was going to answer the question too, because initially she's like, how do I repair
Rectify
this?
the
Yeah.
situation.
But
You can't.
first of all, yeah, I think the first thing you have to do when in therapy is really focus on self-awareness. You know, there's a ton of resources out there, like books and stuff, just to know, like, okay, because the initial story, it seems like there was no self-awareness at all. You're like, I don't get it. I mean, I guess I pushed a little hard. It's like, no, you pushed a lot hard. You pushed a lot hard from the get-go. But then two, paradigm. You have to shift your paradigm. The way in which you see the world. Because I think that's what it is at the end of the day. You guys weren't really going to work out because of how you guys see the world. They're like, we're taking the free trip. You're like, you earned that trip. A lot of that stuff, it's so deep ingrained in you that you're not going to be able to agree on a lot of things. So, yeah. But the one thing I would say on how to rectify it is just to say I'm sorry to them. Like, that's it. Like, you just have to go back and apologize and tell them.
Trip?
Huh?
Can I go on the trip?
No,
after I
no.
Okay.
What
Don't
about
even.
Aspen?
Because I said I'm sorry.
go to
so
Aspen?
Can I still go?
Nope.
I'd be like,
Don't expect nothing. You'd be lucky if y'all stay together.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point. But you have to go back. You have to apologize, but explain where you're coming from, like background. But don't get too much into the, oh, I was raised like this, because then it could kind of seem like I'm this. This happened because that happened in the past. Which, yes, to a certain extent, yes, it is the way you think because of how you were growing up. But at the end of the day, it was your decision too, as well. Could you have said something? Could you have not? Yeah. But like, just go back and apologize. Explain to them, like, my family thinks this way. Your family thinks this way. I didn't mean for it to be personal. I was just like seeing it from my perspective, my paradigm on how I think the world should go. Yeah.
Because I think to a certain extent, she did do a lot of stuff. Because at least for me, knowing how some updates go on this subreddit, some people will never see the light of day. They stand on their point, 10 toes down. And I feel like she heard the comments. She looked inward. Her friends also saw the post. And she's changing stuff. She's also being like, yeah, like, I messed up. I think she is coming to terms with a lot of what she did. And she's trying to be like, I need to work on myself because this is bad. And here's an update. And yeah, I screwed up.
Yeah, because I do, because I'm like, I did say she was a bad person. I don't think she's a bad person.
Yeah, no.
Because this does resonate with me. It reminds me of like my childhood. My mom, she was a single mom, so she's like didn't want to ask for help. She didn't want to, like, even if we needed help, she didn't want to ask for help. Right. She would always help other people. She would always do things for other people, but never ask for help. And that like was infused in me where I'm like actively pushing people away. I do want to help people. I do go out help my friends, but when I need anything, I never ask for anything. And I think someone told me, you're like, the things you're doing for other people and you're not allowing people to do it back, you're actively stunting them. Mm-hmm. They want to help you as much as you want to help them. But seeing my mom go through that, I'm like, well, you're not supposed to ask for help. You're not supposed to do those things. And you're actively like making relationships less because you're not doing those things that make relationships, friendships, all these things work. So seeing OP, I'm like, yes, I can see my childhood actively informing things in my adult life. And it's something I need to work on. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean like you're not a bad person, but like, yes, you're actively doing things that can hurt things in your life because of how you were raised. But like you said, I'm getting the self-awareness, I'm learning things, I'm figuring out how I can change those behaviors and hopefully do things in the future. The sucky thing is you might ruin things along the way that you won't be able to get back. And there's a possibility there might not be anything you can say to your boyfriend to be like, for it to work out. And that's the sucky thing, ruining things because of your behaviors, but that's also the lessons we learn, and like hopefully it'll get better in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's a big lesson.
It's a huge lesson.
Yeah.
Because I missed out on this rich family. If I,
yeah.
like, dang.
Yeah. Wait, let me clarify.
I want to go to France, dude.
I don't think she's a bad person. I think it is what it is. It's just the paradigms. Yeah. It's just how you think about the world.
We're all raised.
Because I think that is true of like everybody's outlet is different. Mm-hmm. But yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah, it wasn't the overstepping is the part everybody's having a problem on, not how you think about the world. Because there are people that are more like service first, or you work for it and earn it.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, I think my mindset is closer to OP's than it is to OP's family.
Way closer to OP's.
Yeah. So it's a lot closer. I mean, my thing was just, would I have said that? No, but also maybe you don't realize the things that you do that ruin relationships until after.
Because it's not even having that worldview. It's just being so rigid in it that you can't allow other things to exist.
Other people to be the way they are.
At the same time. You're like, the world is this and no one else can live outside of it. That's where you can have a problem.
But then sometimes you don't even realize you're doing that until after.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you're rigid.
You're like, what do you mean? And then you're like, well, you do this, this, and this. And you're like,
you're clenching your fist the entire time we're talking. You're like, no, I'm not.
Did I get you trying to have fun?
You're so angry.
Yeah. Well, I think she did miss out on a few family heirlooms, though, like this last story.
Hey, that's good. They had like they had a tiara with the the flight thing. They're like,
I
here you
said
go.
yes to France.
In diamonds. Like, here you go. They just throw it away in the
Take
trash.
this
We're like,
Corbin.
we're not even going to give it to anyone else. We're throwing it away.
Recycle it.
Recycle it. Give it to the gardener.
Okay, so this last story is, how do I convince my husband that he's not the asshole for keeping an heirloom his mother wants? This past summer, my husband was given a small portion of his maternal grandmother's wedding china as an heirloom. We were shocked, but when we called them, my husband's grandmother told us that she wanted him to have the heirloom because he was like a son to her, and she asked us not to tell any other family members that we had them. For added context, my mother-in-law is an alcoholic and frequently abandoned my husband as a child, leaving him with various family members and friends, including his grandmother, who did a large portion of the child rearing. We thanked them for honoring us with this heirloom, and we put the china in a safe place. A couple of months later, my husband unfortunately had to be hospitalized in a mental health emergency. This happened to be the same week we had to pack up our place to move, and because our baby was only 4 months old, I asked my family for some help. The day everyone was helping with packing, I had to run an errand, and when I came back, I noticed that my mother-in-law had made a pile by the door of items that she was taking home. It was in this pile that I found our box of china. I asked my mother-in-law to leave the china until my husband got out of the hospital and they could discuss it together. The following 2 hours, she was on and off hysterically crying, explaining how when she was 18, her mother had promised her this wedding china and promised her the entire set would only belong to her. According to her, the exact box we had, she had misplaced years ago and we had it by mistake. I stood my ground that the china had to remain in our apartment until my husband was out of the hospital. A few weeks later, my husband and I were settled in our new home when mother-in-law randomly texted him about how she still had resentment towards me because I felt entitled to an heirloom that was promised to her, and was complaining that I refused to let her reclaim something that was rightfully hers. I was so angry that she was projecting this onto me that I took a couple of days to cool off and had a session with my therapist before we asked her to have an in-person conversation about it. Her demeanor and behavior during the in-person conversation was very similar to when she first tried to take the china while helping me move. This time, she claimed that she had called her parents, who confirmed that it was a mistake that they sent us the china and that they told her that we should return it to her immediately because it wasn't theirs to give away. Strange, because it's literally their wedding china. We did not come to the resolution my mother-in-law was hoping for, and because we are keeping the china, we were accused of not respecting her as an elder, stealing from her, and becoming selfish and greedy. Afterwards, my husband was torn, wondering whether or not he should return the china to her because of how emotionally distressing it is for her not to have the complete set. I've since encouraged my husband to keep the china whenever he brings it up because it was rightfully given to him, and the gesture meant so much. However, I also want him to have them just out of spite of my mother-in-law.
There you go.
I'm tired of her bulldozing through my husband like she has his entire life. How do you support a partner through a toxic parent like my mother-in-law? From an outsider's perspective, does it seem like I'm pushing my agenda too much with my advice?
But
Is the grandmother still alive?
He didn't say that she passed. They didn't say that she passed, so I'm assuming so.
Because can't we just bring it up with the grandmother? Be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
grandmother gave this to me.
she's the one that raised me,
Yeah.
not you.
She should be the final authority on the china. Like, she could clear it up with the mother-in-law and be like, yeah, I gave it to him. Sorry, bud. You lost.
Yeah.
I lied to you at 18. I was never going to give it to you. I was only going to give it to your kid.
Now my grandchildren are more
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I do think, like you were saying, it probably was maybe something that she intended to give to her daughter. But then as like her daughter had OP's husband and ended up not really raising him, and her basically having a daughter, but in a way also having a son who she was like, I want to give it to my son. Like, even though that is my grandson and it skips a generation, I feel like maybe she was thinking that he would respect it more or honor it more. I don't know. I do think it is frustrating though, because you're involved, but not completely. Like, it's not really your choice to make, like you're saying.
So you pushing it all, you can seem like, oh, you're just being petty.
Because
A
you, like
little
you said,
bit.
you have two motives.
Yeah.
You're like, it is rightfully his, but he feels bad about it. But also, I don't want mother-in-law to win because it's not hers. And she keeps
that's my
manipulating
favorite.
my husband this whole time.
I like being right, but then also being a little petty. Like, it's good when you can have both of those working at the same time.
Yeah.
But I guess OP's like, am I pushing too hard on this? Doesn't matter that much.
Because it's not hers. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because all you can do for your husband is give your opinion and be like, this is what I think. Ultimately, it's your decision. If you want to give it back, that's up to you. I just don't think you should.
Mm-hmm.
But I think anything beyond that, if you like, I don't think OP's trying to manipulate the husband, but like just leave it at that. Say your piece, and then what happens happens.
Yeah, I feel like OP's trying to stand up for
Yeah.
her husband. But I think at the end of the day, he's got to be the one to be like, yes or no.
Right.
Because he's got to be living with the guilt that the mother puts on him.
Exactly.
So is he willing to just brush that off, or is he like accepting the guilt and he feels it and it's heavy on him?
Right.
And would he just feel better if he were to give it to somebody else? I don't think he should. I agree with you. I don't think that he should give it to the mother-in-law. But I also think to a certain extent with the guilt that he's feeling and he's doing his whole life, he's given into his mother-in-law. I think it's likely that he's probably going to want to lean that way.
Yeah.
Unless something big changes, he's probably going to feel better if he were to just give it to her, even though that's completely wrong. And I'm standing on your side, OP, and I appreciate the fact that you're supporting your husband. But
Yeah.
Because Grandma did say don't tell anybody. So there's a big reason why.
Grandma knew this
Grandma
was gonna
knew.
happen.
Wow.
But now she's quiet. Like, well.
But-
Yeah.
Then I guess people do that with China. Just don't use it. I just have this thing to have.
Yeah.
Is that what people do with China?
My coworker would use it for fancy parties. Other than that.
Otherwise, it was just
stayed
like-
It
in
just-
the cabinet.
That's crazy to me. Every time I hear China, I think of Trump. China. That's every time it's saying like that.
Yeah. I wonder why they can't get the grandma involved to be like the end all be all.
Well, now what they're saying is like grandma's like, don't tell anybody. So it seems like grandma doesn't want to be
But
to
she
even tell her daughter to be like, yeah, you
Could
give
be
it to
the
him.
best mediator. Like, yeah, I gave it to him.
I think so, but I think she might be scared.
But also, we're hearing from OP's mother-in-law that she did talk to grandma. We don't know that she actually talked to grandma.
Right.
So
I
maybe
don't
grandma
believe
doesn't
that
even
part.
know, which is why grandma's
Grandma.
like, I haven't reached out to you guys because I haven't heard anything. As far as I know, she doesn't know about this, right?
We'll reach out to grandma now.
Yeah.
She found out.
I think
Grandma, she knows.
We got a big issue.
But there's also a couple things. Well, she said, the mom said, you're not respecting your elders. Have you earned the title of elder?
yeah.
Like, can we really say that if you weren't really involved in him growing up? But then lastly, if the compromise is, I wonder if a compromise could be to split the set in half.
Every time I hear the split in half, I always think, the Bible thing. They're like
Cutting
I
it
was
down the
thinking
middle.
of
half.
Medea.
I just love when people use that idea. They're like, cut it in half. That makes me laugh every time because it's such a wild thing.
Do you want this half?
Yeah.
This half?
And the person saying, okay, that's a good solution. And the other person's like, no, you can have the baby because I'm the mom. That's crazy to me. That's dumb, right?
That, yes. But I'm literally thinking like, I guess
Purely for the baby. It's
She's
stupid.
saying like the China, which makes me think it's like
A singular
it's multiple
piece?
stuff.
yeah, that's what I was like.
But maybe
you get a
somehow
plate?
grandma
Yeah,
gave
yeah.
her a part of like, let's say if it's like 24 pieces and mother-in-law has 12 and the son has 12. I don't know. I think there are multiple sets if mother-in-law had any in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Because she did say something about completing the set, but I'm like, why would grandma give you any of that China? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
come on, mom.
But then you got half China, so like half people on fancy stuff, half people on paper plates and solo cups.
Yeah.
How do you pick who gets on the paper
Well,
plates?
you don't
You're
have
like,
too big of dinner parties.
Yeah, don't throw
Oh,
big dinner
okay.
parties.
Or you just never use them.
I can't put Velveeta dip on good China. It has to go on a paper plate.
Oh, yeah, that stuff.
Love me some Velveeta dip. And
Okay, so the update, it hasn't been very long since my post, but my husband has already come to the decision regarding the China Surprisingly, he has decided that the easiest thing for himself, his grandmother, and our peace is to just give the china to mother-in-law.
Yeah.
As his partner, I fully support him making the decision. All of your comments have helped so much, especially the ones about how it's really up to my husband because it's his family and not mine. Another one of you said that this is like giving the baby her bottle, and that's how I would like to see it for my own processing. But that's because I feel petty over how she projected entitlement onto me when she was trying to take something from her son while he was in a vulnerable place. But really, this was a relatively small event in the grand scheme of things. Her alcoholism, narcissistic behavior, and childish manipulation goes far beyond this china. All that we can really control is how often we are around her, and we have the boundary set in place with her drinking, especially when it comes to our baby being around her. If it were my choice, we would be no contact, but my husband still sees hope in her changing her behavior. Despite the reality of her behavior facing us, I think he has to find a way to deal with her on his own time. In the meanwhile, I will protect my baby, myself, and support my husband in the process of him healing from his mother's wounds. Thanks, comforters.
Shout out to her being so supportive, though.
Yeah.
Put those
She's
eyebrows down,
understanding.
dude.
Sometimes people are like so set on what they want the outcome to be that they won't accept how the outcome actually is.
Yeah.
So shout out to her for actually being able to flip on the dime and still be supportive regardless of how it came out.
Yeah, because she's like, at the end of the day, I got bigger fish to fry.
And she's an alcoholic and a narcissist, so it'll end up
Mother-in-law,
yeah.
not OP.
Yeah. The only thing with that is I'm glad she did, like, I'm going to be supportive, but you have to keep that energy forever. He could never change on how he treats his mother, and you have to be okay with that. You can't, like, let it fester, like
I've
5
never been
years
okay
later,
with
you're
it.
like, you're still listening to your mom? Because some people just don't change the relationship with their parents, and you have to accept that and not let it get into your relationship. Because he might change. He might actually be like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be different. But he might for the rest of his life just, this is it. And you have to accept that too.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for coming to the Comfort Level podcast. Thanks Ely'ssia. Thanks Skylar in the back. Guys, hope you liked the banana bread earlier.
It was
Yeah.
so good.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.